I've tried to record this video once before and it did not come out well. I was trying to put on makeup, look good for the video, you know what I mean? But I realized that doing so was not a reflection on how I'm feeling right now. And I wanted this to feel very real and really true show of what it's like to quit your job and how it feels afterwards, especially if you don't have a specific plan, or maybe you have ideas but it's not like fully figured out yet. It's kind of what I wanted to showcase, and this is a true reflection of what's going on right now. Starting with a little bit of a story time. 1 month ago, I put in my 3 weeks notice at my corporate consulting engineering job that I had been doing for about a year now. I really debated the decision about like whether or not to quit my job for quite a few months, and I knew for a while that something was off, but I couldn't figure out exactly what it was or how to place the actual reasoning behind the way I was feeling yet. So I stayed in the job for the full year, but the week that I put in my notice in that last month was really just like the breaking point for me, where I couldn't continue doing what I had been doing and I had to make a change right then. So I've been unemployed for about a little over 2 weeks now, and I figured it's finally time to sit down and try to record this video again and kind of tell you why I ultimately decided to leave my corporate consulting job. As you see in the title, I referenced the I don't dream of labor concept. I wanted to start the video by kind of touching on that really quick and just saying that I don't agree with that concept. Although I don't have a dream job per se, I do quote unquote dream of labor. To me, I think the downfall of this concept of I don't dream of labor and the kind of side point of having a dream job, I think they're both two extremes, right? Your dream job being a job that is your lifelong job that you want to do, something you're passionate about your entire life, versus the I don't dream of labor concept being I never will have a dream job. I am kind of in the middle of those two, and I think there's a middle ground that's really important. And I'm not going to touch too much on that in this video, but I did kind of want to just comment on that because I feel like this Great Resignation, as it's being called, or you know, this new trend of everyone quitting their jobs and posting about it on social media, etc. A lot of that revolves around this concept of not dreaming of labor. I get a lot of personal value from working, and I don't see that changing in my life. So I just wanted to start by saying that for me, it's not about whether or not I'm working, it's about why I'm working and why I'm doing the specific job that I'm doing. And you'll see that through my reasons why I quit my job. If you do want me to make a video about this concept a little bit more in depth, just let me know in the comments down below. I'm happy to do that. But for now, let's get right into the 3 reasons why I quit my corporate consulting job. There's definitely a lot of, other factors for why I quit my job, a lot of personal reasons that do kind of get touched on in the, 3 main reasons, but I felt like these 3 reasons were the most prevalent and would potentially resonate with you all the most. So I wanted to focus on these 3, but there are other reasons, of course. So first I wanted to start off by talking about the main reason that a lot of us in America, and I'm sure other countries as well, accept a specific job offer. And it's a lot of, key reasons that we're told in the traditional American lifestyle of you go to school, you go to college, you get your corporate or whatever job. Sorry about the curtains, my cat is messing with them right now. You're probably already very aware of these kind of key points or things to look out for when selecting your job that we're usually told at job fairs or career connection labs or whatever they call it at your university or college that you go to. But we're usually told to look at the salary, the benefits, the culture of the company, and opportunities for growth and learning. And I, like many others, and I'm sure many of you watching this, followed these key points to end up deciding on the company I worked for. The funny thing, or I guess ironic thing about this, is that these reasons are why I ultimately decided to quit my job. And I'll start off by talking about the most important being your salary and your benefits. So a little bit about me. I come from an initially middle-class family turned kind of lower class after my dad left me and my mom and my 2 sisters when I was 8 years old. I grew up dealing with a lot of hardships in my family with my sister's drug addiction, rehab visits, jail visits in the end, and child protective services visits when my sister ultimately lost custody of my 2 nephews. They ended up being in the custody of me and my mother for a few years when I was in high school. We raised them for a few years, and although all of these experiences were really hard for me, at the end of the day, these experiences made me into the person I am today, and I am very grateful and proud of that person. But one of the main traits I pulled from these experiences was my obsession with money and stability. After seeing my mom have to fight for our home after my dad filed bankruptcy in a different state, and watching my mom struggle to make ends meet to raise her 3 children and then her 2 grandchildren afterwards, I always thought to myself, I want to be more stable with my money. I want to have a more stable lifestyle. I don't want to feel like this for the rest of my life. As soon as I turned age 16, I got a part-time job and I worked as much as I possibly could while keeping up my grades in school to save up for my own car and buy that, as well as pay for any other non-essential items that my mom couldn't afford to buy for me while I was in high school and up until I was in college. I got a pretty much full ride scholarship throughout college through multiple different kind of private scholarships that I had applied for, and I really worked as hard as I could in school to be able to get those scholarships and not have a lot of student loan debt whenever I graduated. And a lot of my reasoning for putting in all of this effort and having this financial stability or independence was that I went into college assuming that when I got out of college I would be the one adopting or taking over custody of my 2 nephews, because my mom was older and didn't have the time or energy to be able to raise a baby and a 3-year-old until adulthood. So it was kind of this known, spoken and unspoken thing that I was willing to do it and that I was going to do that after I graduated. So for me, money and stability was truly the only answer to be able to do these things that I thought I had to do. The happy ending to all of this is that my cousins ended up adopting my 2 nephews, and they are being taken care of by a established family that already had a career and, income, versus me, who was still in school and stressing about, finishing college and getting that job to be able to support them before I was really ready to. However, these financial principles that I grew up idolizing were still in me and continue to stay in me to this day. When I received my offer letter stating my $60,000 a year salary and a $10K 401k contribution fully vested from the company per year, as well as medical benefits and a yearly bonus opportunity at the end of the year that ended up totaling about like $5,000 a year, I was looking at a very clear $75,000 salary plus benefits. I pretty much passed out when I saw this, and this amazing health insurance plan that looked great to me, although others in the company told me it was pretty much trash, looked amazing because I had been paying for my own health insurance as soon as I started college, and I had been getting paid $12 an hour at a part-time job with no paid time off and no benefits. So of course all of this looked amazing, and it is, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money, and it's crazy that I even made that much, But I took the job without any questions or thoughts and immediately started looking at this new salary and planning out how I was going to budget and save and invest this new money I was going to be having every year that was insane and just unreal for me. What I eventually started to realize throughout this time was that some people, me being one of them, will take a job for the title or the salary or the benefits and eventually realize that these perks or, payments, whatever you want to call it, are really not enough to get them through the daily work without struggling with burnout. I went through college switching between different engineering majors. I started in computer engineering, switched to electrical engineering. I almost switched again to another engineering, but then finally landed on industrial engineering. And I only really stayed in engineering for 2 main reasons. A, I was really good at math, and I just assumed, well, I'm good at math. This is going to be an easy job for me to do in terms of my abilities as a, professional or intellectual, whatever you want to call it. And B, I knew that engineering jobs had a pretty high starting salary, and I would most likely have not too many issues getting a job straight out of college, looking at what the job market seemed to be at the time. Looking back, there was plenty of times when I started to freak out or panic about my degree and I wanted to drop out of college altogether and figure something else out. Basically anything that could bring me more fulfillment than what I was currently doing. After all these years in university of constantly switching back and forth, I eventually found myself in a spot in a field that really mixed together a few things that I at the time really enjoyed. I decided on a career path that was a mix of transportation engineering and urban planning. doing, and I set off full steam ahead to pursue that. I don't have any regrets at all about my decision to kind of push forward with this goal, and I truly believe it's okay to change your mind and change your path as you go. I'm not going to be touching on this a lot in this video, but I do have another video in the works on why it's okay to change what you want to do in your life and not have to feel any guilt or shame about that. So make sure to subscribe if you want to check that out in the future. But the problem lies in what happens next. Because I was so obsessed with this idea of money and stability and security, I pushed away these feelings of burnout for many, many months. And I'm grateful that it was only months and not years, but I still did this at the detriment of my own health. If you look back at my channel, you'll see a couple different videos focusing on stress that I was feeling or things I was trying to change to, get out of this state I was feeling like I was in. I focused on a lot of physical changes that I thought would help. Like I moved apartments 2 different times, thinking that the small size of my apartment was what was affecting me. I got off of birth control, assuming that the medication was the issue. And although all of these pieces did play a part in my burnout and in my stress, it wasn't looking at the root cause, which ironically was in front of me the entire time. I was trying to do everything I could to put myself in a better position to not be burned out from my job, when the whole time the issue was my job. But I was so focused on the salary and the benefits and getting the yearly bonus at the end of the year and the mid-year bonus that I was going to get, that I pushed all of these other thoughts away and just kept focusing on the prize. Okay, if I can just get past this, I'm going to get this next paycheck, I'm going to get this next bonus, I'm going to get this next whatever, to be able to have more financial stability in some way. I finally realized that I could be as financially stable as I wanted. I could have the most money in the world. I could save up as much as I wanted and invest in all of the right things, whatever I wanted to do. But if my end goal is really to care for my family, which is the whole reason I want to be financially stable, then my emotional stability is much more important than my financial stability. So key takeaway here, I challenge you to take a hard look at the career path you're going down or the job you're currently in and think about whether the goals that you have as a person, what you really truly value in your life, are you in the job you're in? And does it support those goals and values? Does it align with those? Do you feel good about that? Or are you really just in it for the money? And if there's no backing behind why you're in it for the money or the reasoning for that, then, that could be your answer right there. Obviously, there is the elephant in the room when it comes to talking about financial stability and quitting your job, which is obviously we don't all have the luxury of quitting our job cold turkey with nothing lined up behind that. And if you're like me and you have 8 more months on your lease and a lot of bills to pay and things that you just have to take care of financially, you obviously have to plan for this, and it can't be something you just willy-nilly pull out of your back pocket and say, I quit. So if you are curious about the specific ways I prepared to quit my job financially, I'm happy to make a video about that as well. Just let me know in the comments down below if you're curious about that. But it is a really personal decision and really depends on everyone's personal situation. But I am happy to share kind of what I did. And another thing to note is I am married, but my husband also was unemployed at the time that I quit my job. It's not like I had someone else's income to definitely, fall back on when I quit. It really would apply to anyone what I ended up deciding to do. So just let me know in the comments below if you want to know more about that, and I'm happy to talk more about it with you guys. Now I will finally move on to the second reason why I quit my job. Different personalities, different people fit with different company cultures and different careers. This is a big one that is not discussed in any of these career fair, job fair type forums where they talk about how to pick the best company or job for you. We're often told that a company that has values around work-life balance and has happy hours and free dinners and free travel and all of these great benefits to their job are the best companies to work for. And maybe that's true for you, but that's definitely not true for everyone. When I was a senior in college, all I could think about was, yes, this does sound great. I want free food. I want free travel. I want work-life balance so I can do what I want to do. I want to go out to dinner with my coworkers for free. Yeah, this all sounded great. I mean, who wouldn't think that sounds great when you're in college and you're broke and all you want is free food? But once I actually had my own salary and my own money that I could make decisions with, I didn't really care about the free food or the free travel. It wasn't as enticing anymore, because free travel didn't mean free travel for fun. It meant pretty much forced travel, depending on your job, that you have to take time away from your family. For me, that was taking time away from my husband and my cat and away from my, my home, my happy place where I felt safe and comfortable. It was switching up my routine, potentially taking red-eye flights, whatever it might look like for travel for your job, it was different than your usual routine, and the places you were going was not places you were choosing to go. A lot of times it meant going to a random place, working late hours in this new random place, not having time to actually explore the city you're traveling to, and then coming home more burnt out than you were when you started. Free food meant gathering with my coworkers after 5 p.m., spending more time away from my family, and not being able to cook and eat dinner with my husband after work, which is something that brings me a lot of joy and a lot of peace and happiness in my daily life. And if I didn't go to these happy hours or dinners or whatever, it was shown as someone who's not super involved in the office and isn't interested in getting involved in client marketing. And it was a negative outlook on me as an employee. And then work-life balance means something different to everyone. For me, it initially meant not working over 40 hours a week if I didn't have to. So I was big on setting those boundaries of I will only work 8 hours a day, and my company accepted it gracefully, as well as they could, as long as I, finished my tasks that were required of me in that time, then everything was fine. But what that meant was during my 8 hours a day, during my 40 hours a week, I was running on 125%, whatever percentage you want to call it. I was running really, really hot, and I was working as hard as I possibly could, and I wasn't slacking off or taking small breaks. And if I did take those small breaks, I was making up the time at the end of the day. So a lot of times my 40-hour work week with my work-life balance was 40 hours of work that I'm putting into my time card, but 50 hours of my time that I'm spending actually sitting at my computer. I just couldn't find balance in my job, and I couldn't turn off the stress and the mental load after the day ended. The constant deadlines, the changing responsibilities, all of the opportunities at this job that initially enticed me when I was a senior in college now overwhelmed me and took time away from the things that actually mattered to me in my life. So biggest takeaway here for you guys, the thing I would focus on is just because a job is on the Forbes best place to work or Fortune 500 companies or whatever list you're looking at, it doesn't mean that it's the right workplace culture for you, and it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy and have a good fit at this job. So just take a look at what you value in life, really sit down and think about that, and then compare that to the company you're considering working for or the company you currently work for, and see if those values match up. And if they don't, then it's not a good place for you, and there's definitely a job out there that will be a good match for you. And the icing on the cake, coming now to the third reason why I eventually quit my corporate consulting job, was the job outlook and job growth concept. Now, this is again another really important factor that we're told we should pay attention to, is how much the company will put into your growth and your learning and what they're going to invest in you as an employee. And please don't misunderstand me here in saying that growth and learning is a negative thing, because it really is a great and very valuable thing. But the important thing to consider is what the company is expecting from you in return for putting effort into your growth and learning, because they're not just giving you this learning and this growth for no reason. They obviously expect you to take something from that and invest it back into the company. For me, the biggest hang up here was I've always known from very early on that I want to have children in the future, and I want to either be a stay-at-home mom, I want to work from home full-time or work part-time, whatever that looks like for me. I know that in the future my kids are going to be my number one, and that is going to be my main focus in my life. So climbing the corporate ladder for me was never enticing, never intriguing. It was never something I wanted to do. But something I never considered until I was knee-deep in the job I have been in for the past year is that some company structures and some jobs basically are set up to have you climb the ladder. I didn't realize that until I was in it, but I was halfway on the ladder and already there, and there was really nothing I could do but either jump off or keep climbing up. The company I was working for was always teaching me new skills, teaching me new programs, and pushing me to continue to grow and learn. I had many conversations talking about where I saw myself in 5 years at the firm, or who in the firm I looked up to and wanted to be in their shoes as I grew as a professional in this company. And having these conversations were really hard for me, and it was hard for me to reconcile that fact with number one, I want to have children in the future, and that's going to be my main focus, and I potentially want to fully quit this job. Or number two, I want to start my own thing, whatever that looks like, and work for myself in the future. So these conversations for me were just extremely uncomfortable, because I felt like a fake or a liar when I was answering these questions, where I was like forcing myself to just be someone I was not. and it caused me to feel a lot of guilt about the time and the effort and energy that people in the company were putting into me and my growth. I eventually talked with some people at my company about this, which I highly suggest if you're considering quitting your job. Don't just be silent and randomly quit. Definitely talk to people about it, but also let yourself take time to really decide for yourself and not let others influence your decision. But I think a great first step for me, and I think would be the same for others, is to reach out to someone you trust in the company, talk to them about what your struggles are, and see if there's any way that these things can be changed or fixed. And I did this, and my company was really great, and they had a conversation with me. We talked about what my future would look like if I made different decisions, but ultimately at the end of the day, it still just didn't sit right with me. As much as they, were accepting of this and talked me through it, it still was pushed on me in some way of that, you can be a mom in the future and still grow in this company. You can get your professional engineering license and still be a mother. You can still work 40 hours a week and be a mother. And that's all great. And I know that's true. I mean, my mom did it for years, but that doesn't mean that that's exactly what I want to do, or that this job is a good fit for me to work full time while raising children. And I knew deep down that it really, for me, was not. And emotionally, mentally, physically, it just wasn't going to work. Because at the end of the day, they still saw potential in me as an employee and continued to support me and help me grow and learn, and from that would expect me to have more responsibility as time goes on, which is what happened throughout my 1 year at the company. Each new project I worked on, I had more responsibilities and more pieces of it were put on me as an employee, and I realized that trying to deny these new responsibilities each time was going to be a constant battle that I just didn't want to have in this job. Takeaway here, the constant growth and learning is a great aspect of a job that you can have, and there's a lot of value in it if that's what you want. But if you're like me and that's not what you want, it's going to feel uncomfortable and like a constant back and forth battle you're having with your employer. Here's another challenge for you guys. I challenge you to take a good look at the company you're applying for or currently working for, and the types of growth and learning that they expect from you in your role. And just remember that you don't need to work for a job or a company that requires that of you or expects that of you. It's totally fine to be in a job with very stagnant, normal responsibilities that don't change from year to year, or that you need to ask for raises and promotions if that's what you want. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to sit in a spot and just be there and focus on other aspects of your life at any given moment. There's plenty of jobs out there that are like that, and there's also plenty of jobs out there that do have a lot of growth if that's what you're looking for as well. But just really make sure you consider this before you take the job, or before you leave the job you're in or take the new job that you want, and make sure you really understand what the company expects of you in terms of any certifications or licensure that they expect you to get while you're employed there, and who's expected to pay for the costs associated with that. Is it you? Is it the company? And whose dime or bill or time is that going to be on? Do you have to do this after work for free on off hours, or is it something you can do during your work hours of every day to study for or take whatever exams you need to take? I'm very well aware that many people have different needs for their jobs and different opinions on what they want their job or career to look like, but just really make sure you think through these three main things before you accept your job offer, change your job, quit your job, whatever point you're currently at. Just really sit down and think about these three things, because I really think that these specific key points are going to help you in making that decision about whether or not you want to stay in the job that you're in or start a job that you're being offered. I really hope this video was helpful for you guys, and I'd love to hear more about any struggles you're having with your decision to leave your current job or take a new job that you're being offered. Just leave me a comment down below and let me know what's going on, and I will definitely get back to all of you. I respond to all of my comments, and if you'd rather talk on the down low and don't want it kind of broadcasted to everyone, you can definitely connect with me on Instagram and send me a DM there. I love answering you guys there as well, and I'm happy to kind of talk you through whatever you're dealing with your job, and just hear a bit more about what you're dealing with currently, and just be someone who can listen to you. So I'll have my link for my Instagram down in the description, and I hope to see you there. My last piece of advice for you, and for anyone who's feeling very indecisive or unsure about this decision, is that you are currently making the best decision that you can make with the information that you have available to you. And I really believe that if you look at decision making this way, that you'll never regret any decision you make. I'm wishing you all the best and hope for peace in whatever decision you make, and that you will feel happy and content with it in the future. Thanks so much for watching, and we will talk again soon. Bye.